noticed my eye line.
Okay.
So yeah, want to look at the actual camera.
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to matter enough. By the way, we're live. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Brandi.
I'm Jenn.
And this is another episode of the Unruly Duo. We're still figuring out our new camera.
Yeah.
So welcome back. Last week's topic was pretty heavy, and I felt like it was eye-opening for me. I did not realize how much you had carried silently because because you'd been silent about it. I didn't, I think sometimes people think you don't hear about it, then everything must be fine.
Right. Yeah.
Which kind of makes me realize, it really hits home for me how important it is for women to speak up about their lived and true experiences.
Yeah.
And how, because I really, Jen and I are friends. I followed her online for years, even before we became friends in real life. And, I felt like I kind of knew what was going on in her life because she posted about her life. And yet there was this whole part of her life that she really struggled with,
Mm-hmm.
and carried silently. And, just how I hope maybe freeing it was to just kind of talk about it finally and just admit, like, this was my experience. And I don't know, how do you feel after kind of talking about it? And
I mean, to be honest, yeah, it is freeing. Like I mean, for a long time, there were a lot of things that I didn't speak about because I was protecting people. You know, I didn't want to make people look bad, and I think a lot of survivors go through that, whether that's with relationships, family, friends, coworkers, or people that work within your community, right? You don't want to uh harm people because at one point in time, you loved and cared for that person, right? And you have empathy for people. So it's hard to just, you know, harm people in that way. But I think I looked at it that way, like I was harming someone.
okay, I was about to,
Right?
I was going to let you finish that thought. And
Yeah. Ding.
right,
Yeah.
right.
But,
And how much you were harmed
right.
because, and you were harmed and you internalized it. And then the internalizing and the silence harmed you further. Would that be
Yeah.
fair to say?
Yeah. 100,000%. Because, the smear campaign that went on about me, which, it's it's comical, um, and also not so comical because it's like it's so outrageous. But the part that's not funny is that they actually believed it. And so for me, when I stayed silent and I didn't speak up for myself and I just try to move on, be the bigger person, carry on with my life, those, rumors and lies that were made up about me, um, they ended up harming me in a really big way, right? And so I think sometimes we think that, we're being mature or we're keeping the peace by staying silent, but what that really does is just let the people that are harming us harm us even further because they think, "Oh, I can get away with this," right? And they don't stop. Like they will never stop. And so when you speak out and you speak your truth, you might lose people, but if
You will probably.
you will lose people,
Yeah.
but you have to understand that if you lose anyone by speaking your truth, like good, like good riddance, like get out of my life. This is who I am, and if you can't look at my story, my truth with, empathy without judging me, then you're probably harming me at the end of the day. And I think again, it's important for us to speak out about what we go through because like you said, you're like, I had no idea you were going through that. Right? Everybody just looked at my life. It's like, oh, she moved to the beach. She's living this like dream life on the beach and
Just doing her thing, doing this, doing that. Like, Okay, great.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I was
had no idea.
yeah, I was struggling the entire time, and, I think when we talk about what we struggle with, there are other people out there who are suffering in silence, and it kind of it shows other people that their pain is real too, that it's not just something that, they're being, uh, overly sensitive about or overly dramatic about, and, you know, if you don't tell people what you're going through, like, they're not gonna know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it does. Feels great. I
I
mean, I
do.
feel like a brand new person. It's allowed me to express myself in ways that I was always afraid to because of, you know, judgment or, you know, whatever the case may be, losing people, losing friends. But I'm like, this is who I am. And if you don't like me, then, you can kick rocks.
So we were going to talk about something completely different, and we might
We
get
were.
back to it. But so, and this is off the cuff. Um, so what if somebody comes up to you and says, "If I be honest about something that's going on, I'm gonna lose a community, or I'm gonna lose a loved one partner, or I'm gonna blah blah blah." Um,
By speaking your truth.
by speaking out about what's happening
Mm.
to them, whatever that may be. I'm coming up with a hypothetical situation here. What would you what would you say to that person? You've had this experience that you've been going through. Quick recap, if this is your first time joining us, Jen has, under for the last few months, been dealing with the aftermath of a gang stalking, targeted, cyber stalking and torture attack. It affected She lost everything. She lost her finances, she lost her business, she lost a lot of friends and family. Um, and the community that she had been part of for almost 2 decades prior to that, she essentially lost that as well, because by and large, that community was silent
Yeah.
as they watched her suffer,
Yeah. Miss Noir.
and still are,
Yeah.
apparently. So, okay, you just said, "You know what? You feel better, you feel great."
But I lost
Say the
everything.
Right, right. So can you talk about that a little bit more to somebody who's like, "I'm afraid." Like, I was watching and you looked like you were having a really hard time, like
A little bit. I was, yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you
It's
don't,
not a
I
walk
mean,
in the
if you
park.
have any further thoughts on that, like if somebody was coming to you, what would your response be?
Well, first of all, in the beginning, like, it hurt, like, really bad. Like, I was heartbroken, grieving family that I loved dearly, my whole life. And, in a community that I poured my heart into, and to know that they, you know, turned their back on me or stayed neutral, which is the same thing. Um, it hurt in the beginning. So, I mean, it's going to hurt. And I think a lot of times in life with everything, I was just thinking about this earlier today, but about, like, a lot of people don't take accountability for things that they do to other people because they're like, I'm gonna lose something. I'm gonna lose respect. I'm gonna lose that person or this or this. You're gonna lose it regardless. That's the thing. You're gonna lose those things regardless eventually down the road. You might as well just rip that band-aid right off, right? Um, and so, although I lost all of these things, um, and my community not standing behind me, what it highlighted to me was that they never really were. And we talked about this before too. I
Yeah.
was trying to fit into this box that I couldn't fit in order to be approved by people who could care less and didn't even want to give me uh, the time to get to know me. And so, yes, I lost a lot of things, but I can look back now and see that every single thing that I lost in my life was harming me. Like, it was hurting me, it was holding me back. And so it's
So did you lose? So another way to say it, you didn't really lose things of value in a way, or things that were valuable, that were adding to you, beneficial to you?
that's a good way to put it. Things that were adding to my life. Absolutely not. Now I lost a lot of things that I that I placed meaning on that were meaningful to me. So everything in my life that gave me meaning, jujitsu, my business, my home, friends, family, jujitsu, like I lost everything that I uh essentially was defining myself by.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
that's fair. That's
And
very fair.
so I think, and believe what you want, but sometimes we ask for things in life. And I do believe that, in order to level up in life, you have to get rid of some things to clear space and energy for that path. And I think that where I was headed and where I was going, it was like it wasn't a stable foundation. It was like, you cannot build on this. Let me go ahead and destroy it for you so you can rebuild, right? Or at least that's what I'm going to tell myself because it makes me feel
Well,
better at the
well,
end of the
but you
day.
know what? At the same time, it's also been proven out by the I will just say that, listen, if you're in the jujitsu community and you're watching this and you're like, that bitch has no right to say these things about us, well, fucking do something different to show me otherwise.
Speak up, say something. Yeah.
So I'm just going by observation as somebody not in this community based on the response or lack of response that you had got.
Mm.
I cannot see any other way to interpret that. I am a data analyst. I am a planner. I have spent 25 years forecasting the future based on history, and the history of this situation tells me that you are right. You want to prove me wrong? Please do so.
Please change her mind. We need a
Yes.
sign.
Yeah,
Change her mind.
Yes.
Please. I mean, there's a comment section. You got DMs. My email's out there somewhere. Like,
She's got a GoFundMe. She's got a business. She's got a Substack. There are multiple ways to show otherwise.
offerings. I got, posts you could share, like, comment. There's a lot of ways that you got. I mean, it's not, not asking for, a parade.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So tell me honestly, did you have a sense of it when you were in it? And maybe you didn't want to, when you were still trying to fit in the box, and maybe you put that on yourself, or maybe you were like, if I just try harder, or maybe, did you have a sense that maybe it wasn't stable or that?
Yeah. So when I look back, like I was already I looked at it kind of like, because I've done a lot of therapy and healing trauma. I've done every therapy module under the sun. And so module modality is what I'm gonna say. Under the
I
sun.
literally would not. No, no, no. All right.
Yeah. Um and in part of healing from trauma, especially childhood trauma, is like healing our inner
Yeah.
child. And so I worked, a decade on that. And so I like this past, like, I would say 6 months leading up to all this. I said this to a few of my friends, was I feel like I'm going through a rebellious teenager stage, right? That I felt like a rebellious teenager. And I kind of I was already starting to kind of get disillusioned with jujitsu and like the people in it. Cuz like the people at the top, they're disrespectful, they sexualize jujitsu, right? Nobody speaks up, and they have, you know, hundreds and thousands, if not millions of followers. They're making millions of dollars, right? And they're they're not great role models. And I and just the experience that I have had to watch the community support, you know, uh,
Let's
uh,
just say certain people.
certain people in front of my face, and the lack of support that I have received when I was the one that had to start over from scratch, and then the other person didn't have to skip a beat. And still I was able to accomplish all these things. And it was like, because of the smear campaign and all of that, everybody, kept their distance. And so I've always felt it. I've always known. And I think when I switched over to Resilient Roots, that's when I was like, I want to do my own thing. Like, I don't like the way this is set up. I don't like the hierarchy. I don't like all these like stupid rules. And, like it just started to become like it's a prison, if you want to fit into like a certain association, like you have to be
You have to
a
abide by
certain way. Like
you have to abide by that, right.
you
If
have
it
to have the same viewpoints, the same you say the same things, you wear the same clothes, like it's all the same across the board. Like so um I wanted to start incorporating things that were for everyone because everybody wants to say, "Oh, jujitsu is for everyone." No, it's not. It's not even for me. You know what I mean? Like if it was for me, I wouldn't be in the position that I am in today. And so I was kind of already going that route to where I was like being a bit rebellious. And in March, I that was my March of this year.
2020,
The
nope,
March of
2025.
2025 was my second degree anniversary. So when you're a black belt every 3 years, you get a degree on your belt. And so at the time, I wasn't in association. I'm definitely not going back to the person that gave me the belt to get a stripe, right? I'm not going to go call around, to all these men that have associations because that's pretty much the only
Is that how
association.
okay, that's how you would have,
Yeah,
like,
no. Hey,
officially, that's
could you give me a stripe on my belt? Like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I striped myself.
I think I was I
Yeah.
remember. No, I remember
I
that.
promoted myself because like that was a position I was put in. Like I'm not gonna beg someone for something that I already earned. Right?
Right.
Now if I was like a purple brown belt, then yes, I would uh uh get go to someone else and start learning and training and under them and get promoted all the way to black belt. Well, like once you're a black belt, I'm not saying I know everything because I don't. At black belt you start all over. There's so much that I don't know as far as jujitsu goes, because we just don't have enough time on this earth to learn it all. Like it's impossible. But at the same time, it's like I've been training for 17 years, and I have to pay someone to give me a degree of something I've already earned. So I promoted myself. I gave myself a little ceremony and um, put that stripe on my belt and that was in March, right? So I was already kinda acting out and kind of, like, coming out of that box, because I don't think I know anyone that has promoted themselves like that I know of. There might be, but I've never I don't know them. But, so, yeah, I think that, it was kind of like you know, when I stop and think about it, it was a redirection, because I wasn't on the right path. I wasn't on the right path. I wasn't around the right people. The people that were around me were harming me. And, you know, that's, I think also too, like going back to it being like a part of my healing my inner teenager, like my rebellious
Mhm.
teenage self, right? Like, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me
Right.
kind of thing,
That's
right? So,
such a good line.
yeah. So what was your question? If
If you kinda knew when you were still in it, if you had a sense and maybe because I listen, I have been here's what I equate it to. I've been in a relationship that I knew was ending, that I knew I wanted out of, that I knew wasn't healthy anymore, couldn't admit it to myself. I knew it, but I wouldn't admit it to myself.
oh, yeah.
And I was just wondering if there was maybe something while you were still trying to live into the box that maybe you kind of felt and maybe didn't want to admit to yourself because you were still trying to make it work.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. Yes. So I think it was just yesterday. I have tons of journals, just notebooks everywhere that I rotate through. And I actually saw an entry. Um, I think it was yesterday. Um, I had it was in July, and July was the month that I closed my business.
Mhm.
And that was I because I could have killed myself again. I could have borrowed the money and gone in debt and, like, made it work.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
I for the whole year in business, like, I was burnout, I was exhausted, I was just defeated.
Yeah.
And, but anyways, I wrote in my journal, like, you know jujitsu is not giving back to me. Like, I'm giving all this to jujitsu and it's not giving anything back to me. I'm afraid to leave jujitsu because this is, I might bring it. I'll bring it for the next episode
Yeah.
if I can find it. But I was just basically saying like this is my identity. Like, I don't know how to give it up. I don't know how to basically be without it.
Right.
And but I ultimately made the decision that month that I wasn't going to continue my business. And although it felt right, it did feel right. That decision felt right for me in the moment, especially to give up the business. Um, but it hurt.
Yeah.
Like it was like, I mean, I'm giving up 17 years of, you know, the hardest work I've ever done in my life.
Right.
And so I think like this past year, like the past 6 months, I would say that I knew that I needed to get out of that box because it was it was doing more harm than
You
good.
were gonna suffocate in it.
Oh, yeah, and it was. And it was. And, but and I think sometimes, we hang on to things a little bit too long, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Have the relationship, scenario. I just
exactly.
100%
Yeah. I know what you're gonna hear.
held on to my like, by my fingernails,
Right?
like, till they were bleeding,
Yeah,
and it ended up hurting me worse.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Been there. We hang on to these things because,
At
we're
one
we're
point, they meant something, or you put
yes.
the time in,
Yeah,
or
well, we we address meaning to things,
sure,
right? And we love and care for things and people and places or whatever, and so, we attach ourselves to uh, these things like jujitsu, for instance, and it's like when I detached myself from it, it was it was freeing. Because it gave me the permission to step out of that box, right? It also gave me the permission to start speaking more of my truth and being who I wanted and like not really caring so much about what these people think. And because I no longer had to um uphold a
system, a
yeah,
system,
right.
dogma or doctrine.
Yeah.
This is essentially everything you're saying sounds like all the interviews I hear on the cult path podcast of the people who have deconstructed from a cult or a religion.
Yeah, I mean it's
It's
a very culty. Yeah, it's very cult-like. You're worshiping, um, these people and you're putting them above you in a sense, and, they're telling you how to live your lives, and they're ingraining these belief systems into you that, you don't question, right? Like, there's a lot of philosophies through jujitsu that I just lived by. I mean, I live by it. And but, coming out of it, going through what I've gone through now, I'm like, "Wait a second." Like, this is like, it sounds, from surface level, it sounds pretty beneficial to live by, but and maybe for some people it works, but, like, for me, I'm kinda questioning all the philosophies that, I have lived by. Like, don't take things personally, that was one of them. Like, no, I'm gonna take something
if somebody directs something at you personally, it's personal.
right.
If somebody harms you, intentionally harms you, that's
That's
personal.
personal. Yes. Yeah, I was told, like, if somebody stabs you, it's not personal. Yes, it is. Is that does that person have a lot going on with them? Yes, but it's still at the end of the day, it's still personal to you. It's an attack on you. They were personally attacking you as a person, and you should take those things personally. Because I think what that also trains us to do is like it we people might be harming us on a small scale, and so when it becomes this huge scale, it's like, "Oh,
Right.
we're not taking it personally, so we're not addressing it, and we're just allowing the harm to keep happening to us."
That is so They talk about that on how people always wonder, we're so off topic.
It's
Well,
okay.
people always everything, people always say, I would never get in a call. I would never join a call. But these people are so stupid, blah, blah, blah. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to is done by the whistleblowers of the NXIVM cult, NXIVM. You can look it up. It was a really dramatic, salacious, like there's a 2-season documentary on HBO. It was awful. What ended up being awful. And so they will be one of the whistleblowers is like, nobody joins a cult because they don't tell you all that messed up like they bring you in and they love bomb you. And then they start breaking down your boundaries. And one of the first things that they do is start telling you, giving teachings like nothing is personal to,
Right.
to silence your intuition or your inner voice. So, and most times, a lot of times this goes on for years and it starts really small. Somebody, don't take it personally. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Okay. That makes sense.
Mhm.
But by the time you get to don't take it personally that somebody stabs you, you've been in it for years and now you've learned to completely ignore your intuition.
Mhm.
And that is like textbook cult behavior. Sorry.
I love that you have that information.
Watched a lot of podcasts on this. It's
Yeah, if you wanna know anything about cults.
a guy know them all the Mormon mommies and the sex cults and the religious, the yoga cults, any organization, any sort of yoga, religion, personal development, anything that's sort of got this coda and this group and any sort of organizational structure has culty elements to it.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, when you if there's an organization where they're all the exact same person and everybody's saying the same things, they're acting the same way, they're wearing the same clothes, you know what I mean? And they don't associate or mess with other people outside of that group.
It's because of isolation is another tactic.
Yes.
People on the outside don't get it.
No.
That's what
Right. Yeah.
so you only end up interacting with, sometimes just because like, oh, well, I'm in this all the time. So here's my friend base. And sometimes because the organization is actively telling you, a lot of religions do this, like, don't hang out with these people because they're not on the same path of us. They're going to hell. You're going to have like
Right.
whatever the dogma is.
Yeah.
And so you end up being isolated to where your only group is the people in the organization, the unhealthy organization.
Correct. Yes. Because it was like when I got out of the last jiu-jitsu organization that I was in, it was like, people were following me and commenting and liking my photos and da da da. And I left not on bad terms by any means whatsoever. I left because I was exhausted doing a job that most all of the other schools had at least 3, 4 people doing.
Right. And
Like I was doing the job of an
right.
entire team
Yes.
on
Yep.
by myself, and I got exhausted,
Right.
and I had to leave, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Plus, I was dealing with so many other things. My best friend just passed away.
Your
I
father
ha-
had passed away, your
yeah,
best friend.
my dad passed away.
You just moved and then moved and then moved.
Yeah, I'm like, I opened this business at the same time
Right.
that I opened June of 2024. My best friend was diagnosed with cancer the next month and she passed away the month after that. And I carried on my business for a year, right? By the end of December, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to continue moving forward. Like, I cannot do this. Um, I can't do it alone. And I think, you know, that was very responsible of me to do because I wasn't able to give to my students in the best way possible because I was pouring from an empty cup.
Right. Yeah.
And so when I left, it was like, like we're saying, like, "Oh, she's not part of our group anymore." It's like everybody just kinda, or there's some other things going on behind the scenes of, rumors, smear campaigns, or whatever that I just don't know about. But it's just weird, how people don't associate with you, because you don't, belong to their group, because you don't.
Agreed.
Yeah. Or you don't act the same ways that they do. You don't abide by their rules, or I don't know. You just don't act in a certain way. If you don't act in a certain way, you can't sit with us,
Right.
kind of thing. But yeah.
Um, and so I actually think that so here's what the original topic was. The original topic was I was on Threads, and in the space of, I don't know, 24 hours, I saw two different people talking about I'm at this age and I feel silly. I think one was 30 and she's like, I feel silly because I want to start piano lessons. And then one was, I think, in their 40s and they're like, I feel silly because
And was
I,
this like a trend?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't,
You just saw it.
well, if it was a trend, it was I just saw two people of the trend. So
Oh,
maybe it is a trend, but it did not seem that way to me. It didn't
yeah.
look like it was something that was trending. It was just two. And then the person I believe in their 40s was saying they felt silly because they wanted to start maybe sewing, I think it was. Um, and Jen and I, so I keep saying I'm 50 online. I'm actually my 50th birthday is next month. I'm
I do
close,
that too.
right? I'm close enough.
Especially when it's like at the 10 number.
Yeah,
Like you're like, I'm 50.
right, right. So I'm almost 50. Do you mind saying if you say,
No, no.
okay, so 42,
42.
right?
Yeah.
So we're both people who have taken up different hobbies, passions, etc. Uh, after our 20s. And I think what I wanted to talk about is A, we can share our experiences. And B, I just want to say, like, for me, both of those people, first and foremost, judge themselves. They called themselves silly, or this
Right.
is dumb, or I don't know why I'm doing it, or blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
And I wanted to say really clearly if there's anybody watching that is like, I've always wanted to take up ballroom dancing or quilting or whatever it is, and you are past the age of 25 and you think you can't, every single thought in your head that says, I cannot do this because I am too old or I blah, blah, blah is 100% fabricated. Not a single thought about that is true. It is a machine, a marketing machine that is telling all of us that youth is king and that anything past 30 is over the hill,
Mhm.
which, and I will tell you, as somebody again sliding into 50, 30 is maybe the start. Like 40, I think, is really the
It's like you're
start.
kind of getting started, right?
Yes.
You're like,
Yes.
just, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would say for me, I started running at 37. 2 years later, I competed at 50K. I have summited, I don't know how many mountains I've summited, quite a lot. I did the math once, and in the time that I lived in Oregon, I conservatively accumulated somewhere in the neighborhood of 750,000 feet of elevation gain from all the mountains and hills and blah, blah, blah that I was doing.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. I started rock climbing at 40. I started painting at 42, and recently, thanks to Jen, started pole dancing. And so I I just want to say as loud as I can that you are never too old. That you are like any thought that you are too old or that it's silly or that you can't or that people make fun of you is a flat out, I'm telling you, it is a lie. It is a lie. Nothing about those thoughts are true. I if anybody's ever made fun or made a crack or put a label on it, I can't think of it. I'm not aware of it. Of anybody ever telling me anything or getting any negative feedback or anything
Mhm.
on any of the pursuits that I took up after the age of 30. Um, and I feel so young and like there's so much more time and so many more, like who knows what I'll take up next year? Like
Yeah.
I just, it was just really sad to me that the first thing that they did was label themselves, judge themselves, and try to talk themselves out of doing something that they were interested in doing.
Yeah, because if it's something like sewing, I mean, if you feel silly or like you're gonna be, made fun of for starting sewing at a certain age, like that's gonna keep you from doing everything else. You know what I mean? Like climbing a mountain, doing a marathon, trying a pole class or a dance class or something like that. Um, I'm with pole, you know, uh, I used to dance in a strip club in my early 20s. Um, but back then they didn't have pole classes. They didn't have spinning poles and grip and like all that. Like I didn't really use the pole that much, to be honest, when I danced. And so um when I took up pole, I was 40. So I was 40 years old when I went to my first pole class. And
Like, and let's just say it another way. It's really the pole that you're learning now. It really is new. It's not really just
yeah,
because this is something that is featured in dance clubs, exotic dance clubs.
right.
That wasn't the environment. Like that environment back 20 something years ago is
No.
not the same environment.
No.
That,
You would have, like, out of all the women, 40, 50 women, one woman that knew how to do all that stuff,
right.
right? It was almost like this, like, you know, gate kept kind of
Right.
secret thing, like, she's some kind of wizard that comes in every once in a while and does all these things and everybody's minds are blown. So it was like back then it was just that type of dancing on the pole was pretty rare. But one of the reasons why I entered back into pole was because to me, I saw it as a way to take my power back, right? To put myself back into a place where my power was stolen. And a lot of my innocence, to be honest, was stolen. And not only that, but it for a long time, my body shut down, and I didn't express myself in a feminine way, you know, or like a delicate way. And I lost, I was very rigid and stiff and I was also a cheerleader and gymnast. So being rigid and stiff is like, that was more natural to me than like flowing and all this
Right.
stuff. And so, starting at 40, I've had to kind of retrain a lot of that rigidness,
Mm-hmm.
right? And open up these like pathways almost, I guess
Yeah.
you could say. Um but if I would have thought to myself, one, I can't do it, or people are going to judge me, which they do, and they did. They judged me all day long. Like I mean, pole dancing, that's gonna be, I think, on the top of the list of hobbies you're gonna do that people are,
That are
one,
going to
gonna
be
make
chucked.
fun of you, make jokes about you, assumptions, judgments, so on and so forth. Um, but I didn't let that stop me. But I will say that in the beginning it was hard, because I was actually going to pole for um probably about a year before I posted an actual video of me doing pole, because I didn't want to deal with the judgment and because of my background.
Yes.
Because I've even had people like men, I haven't had any women, but they assume because I post pole videos on my Instagram that I am a stripper. And because they can't see past
Right.
that, like that's what we associate pole dancing with is the strip club.
Is only exotic dancing where there's like, I like learning tricks. Because to me, there are people who use the expression and pole to dance exotically,
Mhm.
either just in their own videos or in a club or whatever. There's also people who are competitors, like there's pole competitions.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There's people who
It's a sport. I
it's
mean,
more for acrobatics. It's more like circus arts, like
yeah.
aerials and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And that's the part I'm interested in. I don't necessarily want to like learn sensuality, a sensual dance. I love that for people who enjoy that. I want to learn a trick.
Right.
Yeah, I get
Because you're an
it.
athlete. And that's the thing, like, you have to be athletic to do the pole, like,
Right,
and it's fun. So when you're an athlete, like, to spin around and go upside down,
right,
and
right, yes.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of fun. And, if I would have let the opinions of others stop me from doing that, I mean, I would have missed out on, one, so much fun. I don't know if you guys have seen our videos online, but we
Oh my
had
God.
a lot of fun together. Great exercise too.
Yeah.
But there's studies about dancers that the dancers actually process emotions differently,
Mhm.
because when you're dancing, you're expressing
Yes.
emotions, you're
It's an
listening
art
to
and a physical.
music, and
Yes.
you're moving through emotions.
Right.
And so,
And it's absolutely dancing. And anybody who disagrees with that, get on a pole.
oh no, yeah.
It's a hundred
It's
percent. It
dancing,
is a
yes.
form of dance. It
It's
is.
technique.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is a physical technique and it's also an artistic expression.
Yes, 1,000%. And you add it to music, and you have um art.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day.
And would you say, yes, you alluded like you do get comments or judgment, and it sounds like you kind of knew those were coming, but you didn't let it stop you. But you also had to get over the hump of whatever internal, right? Would I say,
uh,
would that be fair of like, I can't do, maybe because of your past, that you had to get over something in yourself saying, I can't do this or I shouldn't do this or
right. Yeah. No, well, also too, because like I was 40 when I went back into the pole studio. And like I'm a black belt in jiujitsu, right? And so when I look at like instructors and people, I'm like, I gauge them according to
she does. She's like, that was a black belt at all.
yeah, the belt system, right? And so I go into this pole studio, and I watch the pole videos and stuff like that. And people do this in jujitsu too. They watch something online and then they try and go into
Yep.
it, and it's
Yep.
like it just doesn't
It
work.
doesn't work.
It's not as easy as it looks,
No.
right? And so I go into the pole studio, and I'm seeing these black belt pole instructors that make it look so easy. And like I'm so used to teaching jujitsu and women being like, and men just saying, you just make it look so easy. I'm like, I've done it 10,000 times.
Right.
That's why it's not easy. I've just done it so
Yes.
many
Yep.
times that
10,000
now,
hours.
yeah, now it's easy to me. And so to enter another space like that at the age of 40
And
was
you don't have the 10,000 hours.
no, no.
You're the one saying this
Yeah.
looks easy.
The black belt does not.
No.
It
Sure
doesn't. Although knowing, having more understanding of like leverage and timing is helpful.
Having
Having a
what?
gymnast background and the jujitsu background is very
Yes.
helpful.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not going to go from a white belt to a black belt
No.
in a day.
You might be like a three. Oh, do white belts get stripes?
Yes.
You might start at a 3-stripe white belt instead of
Sure.
a no stripe white, but
Yeah.
you're still starting at a white belt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like maybe I had one stripe on my white belt when I went to the pole class, and like even now, I mean, I wouldn't even consider myself a blue belt, right? And I think I've been doing it for about 2 years now. But yeah, if I would have just thought like I can't do that, because there's been a lot of classes I went to, and like I couldn't do the techniques that I was being shown, but it had nothing to do with me. I could do them now,
But
right?
yeah.
And it's the same thing with jujitsu too. I've had so many students come in, and you know they for some reason can't get the move, or it doesn't look as clean as mine, and it's just kind of very rigid, or
And
whatever.
probably as somebody who's learning, it probably doesn't in their body, it doesn't feel as clean.
Correct.
Because they don't, their body's still learning it. So it doesn't feel like they're doing the full move because they haven't like internalized it in their body.
Right. And they're comparing it to the person that's done
With
it
the 10,000.
10,000 times.
Yes.
Right. And so in the beginning when you're learning, especially jujitsu, it's like you have to think about each
Yes, you
step,
do.
each detail, and it's like you're connecting the dots.
Yes.
This dot, this dot, this dot, this dot. But the more you do it, it starts to smooth out, and that's just kind of with anything.
Yes.
Pole, probably running.
Yeah. I have had people, uh, these people didn't mean it very nicely, but you're not even breathing hard as we're walking up a mountain. Cause it's like, yeah, cause I do this all the time.
Right.
And so that actually, Jen, that is such a good point. If you're listening to this and you want to get into a new hobby, whatever it may be, jujitsu, pole, running, blah, 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 all the things we've said, plus the million of others that are out there, and you're comparing yourself to what you see online, is keep in mind that that person that you saw, or the whatever, that person has 10,000 hours. And don't be so mean to yourself that you think that you should be at that level.
Mm-hmm.
You will get, and I can guarantee you, Jen will tell you, I will tell you, in anything that we've done, her jujitsu, mine with running and mountain climbing and such, is like, it really is practice. Some people might have a little bit more of a bump than others because there's some latent talent there, or they've got a background in something else that helps give them an extra stripe.
Right.
But I guarantee you, you start practicing consistently, you will get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for me personally, like you brought up like the pole competitions where these men and women are just like impressive, like impressive. I will never be I'm not gonna be I will never be at that level. Right. And I know that. I'm okay with that.
Right.
Right. I don't compare myself to those people. Right. So you have to know your own limits, but don't let it limit you based on comparing yourself
Right.
to what you see other people doing.
Well, and actually that's a really good point too, is like, not everything is going to be the thing that turns into like your whole passion that you practice like for hours on end. But that shouldn't stop you from enjoying it and learning it. And like, so okay, so you don't end up quilting like entire bed covers for everybody in the house. But if you want to learn to quilt, like, what is it going to hurt to
Yeah.
just, and if you can only do it
Dog
if
with sweatshirts,
right.
like
Don't give my mom any more ideas.
I actually thought about her when I was saying that.
My mom is one of those people who's put
I
in
don't know. It could be,
10 million hours of quilting. Everything in her house is quilted.
yeah, it's basically a quilt.
Yes, yes, it's just a color. It's gorgeous. She's like,
Yeah, she's a black belt.
yes, so 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And it's okay if you don't want to be a black belt in the thing that you want to try.
Mhm.
I don't want to be a black belt in pole. I just think it's fun and want to learn new tricks.
Right. Yeah. Same. I mean, I would like to be a black belt in pool, but not a master, but a black belt would be nice.
And would you say that do you have any expectation of being a black belt in pole this year?
No.
How about next year?
No.
See, so there's the only way is practice, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just doing it over and over.
Yeah, and it's like, I also too, I think a lot of times when we look at hobbies as a whole, especially hobbies that have techniques and kind of like layers, you get overwhelmed because you're looking at the whole picture, but it's like,
Oh, that's such a good point. You're
like
absolutely right.
even with jujitsu and even with pole, it's like right now, like me and Brandi on the pole, we're working on like certain things, right? And so you kind of just do the same things over and over until you get really good at those things. So you might actually end up being a black belt at this one trick, right? Or this one like you might
technique.
you might be able to make little doggy sweaters
Right.
all day long, but if
Right.
you wanted to make like a quilt or something,
Right.
it's like you're not a black belt in quilt making, whatever. You know what I mean? So it's if you can piece it out, I guess you could say, and just carve your own way through those things and find what you're good at, because I think a lot of
Oh,
times,
that's also such a good point.
yeah,
Yes.
we look at it, and especially in jujitsu, because there's like jujitsu techniques, they don't end. There's no set number of techniques. Like they go on forever and ever and ever and
Yoga,
ever.
there's
Same with yoga.
different depths of poses.
Right. Yeah. And so if you can find, you know, things that work for your body, for your mind, and learn modifications, according to your body
Yeah.
style, right? You could become a black belt in that area. Because like for me, like I said, I'm a black belt in jujitsu, but there are systems out there that I don't know. Right? There's a lot of techniques that I just don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And that kind of brings us, I think that kind of circles it around. I would just like to encourage anybody watching this who is like, okay, yeah, I want to kind of explore um, getting into something I've always wanted to try. Hopefully what we've said resonates with you, and we've encouraged you to be like, you can try and you should try. Um, I will also say this, like, and this is maybe going to sound awful. We're all going to our current iteration of us. I don't know what everybody's personal beliefs are, but this current iteration of you is one day going to end. I'm going to end. She's going to end.
Mhm.
And I know for me, I don't want to let something as silly, I don't want to, as something as like this marketing message that I'm too old to do something, stop me from bringing a little joy into my life, because life is also has a lot of hard parts. None of us get out of the hard parts, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And so if something is going to bring joy, add joy and benefit to your life, please do it.
Yeah.
Please do it. And one of the ways, there's a couple different ways that we can support you in that. One is, can you talk about what your offering that you just,
The mini series.
the mini
Yeah.
series and the one-on-one and
Mhm.
yeah.
If you are interested in doing jujitsu, especially if you are older, say 40 and older, I just put out a mini series of jujitsu techniques that really focus on staying on your feet if you're ever attacked or kidnapped or abducted, right? I've been seeing a lot of that lately.
Um, so situationally relevant to our current timeline.
Yeah. It's not based on strength, it's not based on speed, or athleticism. And it's 5 parts. The videos are super short. But it's like I said, it's a mini course. But it is also a great way to kind of get into jujitsu if you were ever interested in doing it. Um,
These were the first moves you taught me when I
mhm.
when I when I said I want to start learning. These were absolutely, this was the first step.
Yes, these are, you know, techniques that I have learned. I've been doing this for 17 years, and these are the techniques that I believe in the most, especially for women. That's what I specialize in. I specialize in women's self defense. And when we are up against somebody bigger, stronger than we are, a lot of times, one, we start to panic. If you start to panic, you've already lost. Um, and the first seconds of an altercation, right? An abduction, just being subdued in general, that's the crucial moments. That's where it matters. And so if we can learn uh, certain ways to maneuver our body to give us more stability, to teach us how to get more space and how to stay in what's considered safety zones, it's much easier than you think, right? I mean, I the the techniques that I will carry on as I get older, I'm going to be able to do when I'm 80, 90 years old.
100%. 100%. No, it really is. And I mean, it is one of those things where you're just like, it's being aware. I think the biggest thing for me is, to your point, these techniques are infinitely doable regardless of your age, body type, or physical ability.
Mhm.
And practicing them so that they are the forefront in your mind. To your point, God forbid that an altercation, um, you are in an altercation or you are in an unsafe space, they they are the forefront of your mind so that you don't panic, so that so you can have the autonomy and confidence to go, I at least know how I can protect myself the best here.
Mhm.
has been so meaningful
Yeah,
to me.
'cause when you have a plan, you don't panic,
Yes.
right? And, you know, I remember when I very first started learning this, what I've taught in the miniseries, like, the first time I actually had to plan, right?
Can you tell are you talking about the guest?
Yeah.
Can you tell that story? It really is
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yes.
So I was a blue belt at the time. I was probably 27 years old, so like 15 years ago. And you know, I've been assaulted before, right? And I always say, you know, one of the greatest parts of being a jujitsu teacher for me personally is to see people come through the door and 6 months later they're walking different, they're talking different,
Yep.
they're presenting themselves differently out in the world in a more confident way. And for me, that switch happened one day when I stopped at a gas station on a not so great part of town. I shouldn't have stopped there, but it was just I was almost to my destination. I needed some water, and it was daylight. And so I get out of my car to go to the into the gas station, and there's a car full of men. And I'm parked over here and they have this piece of paper that they're hanging out the window. They're like, "Hey, you dropped this, you dropped this." Like, obviously, no, I didn't. Right? And so I go in the store. The driver gets out of the vehicle and he is like 7 foot tall. I mean, he is probably one of the tallest people I've ever seen in my life, or at least he seemed that way. Like he was so tall. And I remember he was wearing socks and like Adidas slip on
Slides. Yep.
slides. Yeah. And so at this point, I know I have my basics. I know distance management. I know how to clinch and keep a safe distance, right? And also how to never turn my back on, uh, you know, someone I feel threatened by. And so I am like by the coolers, like by the water, and he comes into the store. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna wander around the outskirts of the store until he leaves because I did not want to go to the counter, him get behind me, I go out and him follow me. Right. Because I didn't want him to get behind me. I would have never 3, 4 years ago, you know, before learning jujitsu, I never would have thought like that.
Right.
I
That
would have been like, I would panic. I'm like, I just need to get my stuff and get out and, you know, get my things and leave. And he could have just easily followed me right to my car because he would have been behind me and I wouldn't be looking back at all. And so I waited, waited, waited. I mean, it was probably at least 2 minutes of him just kind of, you know, rummaging around. He walks up to the cashier and he had some M&Ms and I don't know what the cashier said, but he ended up throwing the M&Ms. He's like, $1.89 for M&Ms? That's ridiculous. And he leaves. So he had no intentions on buying anything, right? He went in there to test me out, right? And so he leaves, gets back in his car. So I go and get my water, go back to my car. And, you know, of course, when I'm walking out to my car, they're like, you know, hey, they have this piece of paper, and I just get in my car and I leave. But I had a plan, and in my that whole time that all this is happening, I'm like, "Okay, when I walk outside, this is what I'm gonna do. If he grabs my wrist, you know, or I'm gonna
mhm.
try to keep this far away from
Yep.
him, like, I'm very aware of, you know, where he is. I'm gonna be able to manage the distance and get back to my car safely, right? But you don't have those tools, well, you're gonna panic,
Right.
you know?
Right. And that to me is just that was the first time you realized that you realized you had tools.
Yeah.
Like in a real way.
First
You
time I
felt
had to
like
use
you
that.
you had
Yeah,
been learning them, but this was the first time, like in the real world, you're like, wait a minute. All these things I've been learning in this sort of gym, um, uh, sort of enclosed environment, like
yeah,
on a mat that's sort of this prescribed thing, it doesn't maybe feel as real world. But
right.
you're like, I can take these and I can use this in a real world situation. I'm not gonna turn my back. I'm gonna maintain my distance. If God forbid he gets, I get in a danger zone, I can do this, this, and this. And like how empowering.
Oh, it was. I mean, it was, and you know, like I just because I know where I came from. I mean, I used to walk around like my head down, shoulder slump, like, and I like I said, I've seen this in students so many times that it's like when they learn this stuff, it's like, okay, I'm not so vulnerable now to my environment. And that really changes uh your confidence level. And when you feel more confident, you become less of a target. Because
Yep.
I will tell you,
That's part of it too. Yeah.
yeah, the the more confident I became on the jujitsu mat, because every the whatever you however you train on the mat, it bleeds into your daily life as well. Right. And so the me gaining confidence in that way, because I started walking different, because I started talking different, they people don't mess with me. Men do not, they don't mess with me because they're looking for a certain type of target. Right. And so I used to get messed with in public all the time. I'd be sitting in my car and have a man come up to my window and put his hands on my window like this. Right. Getting into my boundaries.
Right.
And for, you know, my whole life, even like with the gas station guy, right? If that would have been 2 years prior, I would have, like I said, I would have went to my vehicle. He would have probably followed me out, walked with me down the sidewalk all the way to my car, and I would have allowed it to happen. Right. And I did that so many times, before that. Um, and when I learned this stuff, that's why I started crying. Because I was like, where has this information been my whole life? Because it's so simple,
Right.
right? And effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have put these in video format. They're super easy to follow. I was very honored to be her assistant in these
Mhm.
videos. Where can people find them?
At the unrulytemple.com, they will be under online courses.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll put the link in the show notes. And then I also would also like to say, if you are somebody who would just like to get some clarity about like what you would like to do in your life, we do have a retreat coming up in
Hmm.
March. Um, it is a silent retreat with breaks. So I think a lot of times people think silent retreat means like you just cannot talk at all, like it's just complete, you're in a cave
Like a
somewhere in the
monk,
mountain.
just
Yeah, that's not it. There's going to be a lot of silence with breaks,
yeah.
to process together, and by ourselves. There's going to be plenty of activities, together and by ourselves. It's going to be in a beautiful area in Beavers. No, that's not right. Broken Bow.
Broken Bow. It's
Beavers Bend State Park is near Broken
Oh yeah,
Bow. Okay,
Beaver's.
that's
Well, it's Beaver's Bend Lake, right?
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So maybe it is in the park. So anyway, around Broken Bow, Oklahoma. We'll also put the link in the show notes. Jenn is going to be leading and facilitating. I'll be helping out as well. I'll be leading anybody who would like to through morning yoga, and meditation in the evenings, and then also be doing an art exercise.
Mhm.
And then Jenn will be.
I'll be teaching a lot of some of the things that I teach in my mini course, but there's going to be an extension
Yeah,
to that
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
And I also do one-on-ones. We can set up
Oh,
virtual
that's right.
appointments.
That's
Yeah,
right.
virtual. I can teach you this stuff virtual. I do in person, and I also do seminars for schools,
Yeah,
campus, workplace, etc.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so if you are, for right now, the area we're in is the Oklahoma, Texas area. You'll start seeing some of those seminars, which we'll talk about once they get on the calendar. But if you have interest in, I keep trying to look over here.
I
If
know,
you
I
have,
do
if you have,
too.
if you have interest in bringing Jenn to your workplace, school, organization, etc., to do a seminar on women's self defense. That is that also that's part of that's on your website somewhere, right?
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
under services.
Okay, yeah. So look for the seminars coming, or if you would like to bring her in again to your organization. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
My calendar's pretty open right now, so get
Just
it
start
get it
right.
get it while
Right.
you
It's
can.
the start of the year. It's time to start. It's time. Hey, it's time to start thinking about. It's time to
Oh,
start
it'll
thinking
be
about
filled up
where you
before
want
we know
to.
it,
Yep.
so, yeah.
But about how you want to grow, and this is a great way to do that. So yeah.
By the way, Brandi is my new publicist, so just
Business manager
Business manager, yeah.
is the title I have taken for myself.
Okay. Business manager, got
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's kinda how are you feeling? Anything else you wanna
Good.
talk about?
Um, no, I don't think so. Well, actually, I just wanted, because I saw this because it just reminded me of the topic, but, um and it was a poll video, but it was an instructor, and she was just saying how she hated when her students said, "I can't," and she's like, "You can't yet."
Yes.
Like, "No, you can't right now,
Yep.
but maybe later."
You know what my thing was at when somebody would say they can't do art or they can't run or they da da da, you don't know how yet.
Yeah, that's it.
Just because and I will tell you this, something that I learned, and I think it's like literally like a psychological thing. If you say the word I can't, you are telling your brain, who is making decisions and trying to figure things out, that you are physically and mentally incapable.
Yeah.
And think about that. If you say you can't do something, are you really telling me that you are physically incapable of figuring out how to do a jujitsu move or run a mile? You may not want to. You may not have any interest. You may not know how to. You may need, to learn them. But really think about it. Are you really physically incapable? There's just no way in your brain at all ever that you could ever learn how to do something that you have that limited capabilities. I do not believe you if you say yes.
Right. Yeah. Now, we have to be realistic. I'm gonna go start pole vaulting or something crazy
Right.
like that. You know what I mean? But
But hypothetically, you could probably learn
sure.
if you wanted to and had the money and the time
Yeah.
and found an instructor.
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think it's important for us to say, I'm not interested. I
Right.
don't necessarily want to learn how to pole vault.
Hmm.
You will never hear me say, I can't pole vault. You
Right.
will hear me say, I don't know how and
Yeah.
I don't
I
want to
don't
learn.
want to. I don't. Yeah. I don't want to do that. Right now, of course. Yeah. If I applied myself, I could probably
Sure.
get the job done.
Are you going to go to the Olympics?
No.
Probably not. But are you really going to tell me you are physically incapable? There's literally no way you could ever learn to pole vault ever.
Oh no, no,
Okay.
I could do it. It would probably be a lot of fun, actually. But
Right.
I'm just not trying to,
You can yeet yourself places. And you know
I'll take
yeeting. I'm yeeting into the
Next time you guys see me,
air. I'm yeeting.
I'm just gonna yeet myself over to the next dimension of it.
Oh, we're very aware this is only funny to us. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Now are we done?
I think we're done.
Okay. We love you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.